I am not a cauliflower fan.
No, just shocked.
And while I am a fan of fried foods, much to the chagrin of my dietitian and wife, I don't believe you should fry cauliflower. I think it's an abomination, honestly, to both sides.
Right, nobody wins.
Yeah, nobody wins.
Like if you wanted a vegetable, you don't want
Nobody
that. If
wins.
you wanted fried food, you don't want that. But Jay Croucher and backup producer Pete are just leading the charge.
Yeah, it's super weird. Our end of the year party is tonight, so everyone associated with Fantasy Football Happy Hour and Michael Jordan will be gathering.
Fantasy Football Happy Hour with Matthew Berry.
Welcome to the Fantasy Football Happy Hour. Connor Rogers alongside Lawrence Jackson, Jay Croucher, and of course Matthew Berry. That's right, clap it up. The return is here because today is the Ride or Die preview day, Matthew.
And we are live on YouTube. I cannot tell you how excited I am. We are live on YouTube every single day starting next week. Well, the week after, but whatever. Like, quick housekeeping, right? We're live today. Then we go to the Hall of Fame game on Thursday, where I will announce my Ride or Die on NBC and Peacock during the Football Night in America pregame show for the Hall of Fame game. Then next week, next Monday, we start back, and we are live at noon every single day that we're on. I think next week is Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then the week after, once again, Monday through Friday. But we are live at noon every single day that we're on air. And then, of course, we're on demand on YouTube, on demand wherever you get your podcasts. It's also going to air at 5 o'clock on Peacock. It'll be on demand on the Cock as well after that. So very exciting. Good housekeeping. Just so you know, thrilled to be back. And we want everyone that's watching on YouTube to get engaged. We're going to read your comments, react quickly to us. So what we're going to do today, Connor, obviously, is we're going to talk Ride or Die.
That's right.
We're going to talk Ride or Die candidates.
We are each going to pitch one.
Okay.
We have, obviously, our Rotoworld coworkers that have pitched candidates. Never forget Denny Carter pitched Taysom Hill.
Yes.
Once upon a time.
He did.
In a shocker, you didn't go with that one.
I didn't go with him, but I did end up drafting him in our league.
Over Derrick Henry.
No. Over Brock Bowers.
Over Brock Bowers.
Over Brock
there you
Bowers,
go.
even worse. But I did still win the league. So, ultimately, at the end of the day, I was hoisting the trophy. My name is etched twice back there as well. Real quickly, though, just a little bit of off-season housekeeping, if you guys don't mind. You just saw the clip to start the show, right? And we talked about our off-season party. The last time we've seen each other, the four of us, Lawrence and I made a stop at Fanatics Fest, but the last time the four of us have been together was that clip you just saw before the end of the year party that we had, where Jay Croucher, there you see, there's the whole crew, there's the whole Fantasy Football Happy Hour crew. You'll notice if you look closely there is no Connor Rogers in this picture, and there is no Jay Croucher in this picture. Like, I showed up, Lawrence showed up with everyone, but no one else did. No, the two of you didn't.
It's because you planned the party to be halfway to your house on the way home.
The party was in Maine, by
Wait
the
a
way.
minute,
I live in New York.
But my point is, Jay demanded we order fried cauliflower. We only got 3 entrees, and one of them was fried cauliflower that sat there uneaten.
That's a problem.
Because he had no intent. There it is.
Oh, that's all.
No one ate the fried cauliflower that Jay Croucher insisted to our entire group that we order, even though he knew he had no intention of showing up. Jay Croucher, explain yourself.
Okay, well, one, my wife was at Beyonce for the 4th time in a week at MetLife, so I had
Something
to take
she
her.
had just decided to know, or did you know she was
No, I
going to
didn't know
Beyonce?
that. No, I didn't know that.
Interesting,
Two,
yeah.
what I would like to draw attention to is in our little opening bit, you talked about your dietitian. You know, dietitian. You had a dietitian to be the worst dietitian on the planet. Who would have been fired years ago.
No, I just ignore him. I don't listen to him. I have one.
Ridiculous throwaway.
It's a tax write-off.
That Matthew Berry has a dietitian.
It's a good tax write-off.
Unbelievable. No, it's a shame that everyone didn't indulge in the fried cauliflower, which is a staple.
No one
of America.
wanted it. That was the whole discussion of the group chat. No one wanted it except you or backup producer Pete. Everyone else was, but you insisted and demanded.
Yeah, listen,
and then it showed up.
As my father used to say, you can lead cows to water, but you can't make them drink, Matthew.
It just feels rude to me that, you would, if you knew you weren't going to be there, hey, guys, I'm not going to be there, but I think you'll enjoy the fried cauliflower, is the kind of suggestion that would have been reasonable to make.
Okay, well, hold on. Speaking of the dietitian.
Yes, sir.
resurfaced in another way, Matthew, with your summer aesthetic. It's like you've been spending time with the dietitian.
Hey, this guy is.
Oh, look at that.
Lifestyle.
TMR.
That's right.
It's like somebody that wrote a movie or
That is, so what you're looking at for you guys seeing, this is a picture of myself and my beautiful wife and our good friends Brian and Lemma. This was our anniversary weekend. We went out to Las Vegas to see Kenny Chesney at the Sphere. I'm a big Chesney fan, as is my wife and our friends there. And that was, there you go.
Hold on, so which one's David and Njoku?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell.
So we see both of y'all been hitting the gym this summer.
Yeah, exactly.
So, look, though.
I'm just glad you weren't wearing leather.
Yeah, very well. I had to take it off. That's by the way, that's at the that right there was the Palm Tree Beach Club. By the way, shout out to my friends.
I would say though,
in
Matthew,
Vegas.
in the past, the way that you've talked about your physique, I'm gonna kind of give you props right here.
Yeah.
I would have thought it'd been worse.
Not as bad as you think,
I
right?
would have thought it'd been worse. You kind of look like a retired backup NFL quarterback. Like that's the quarterback body that you're supposed to have, right? Like you don't want to be too muscular.
Basically Josh Allen.
Yes.
Kirk Cousins, Josh Allen.
Have you seen some of the offseason shots of Mahomes? I'm just saying.
That's what I'm saying.
right.
You kind of got the Patrick Mahomes, Eli Manning body. You know what I'm saying?
Okay,
Well, by the way, to be fair, that's the result of not eating fried cauliflower.
Okay. Well, to be fair, Patrick Mahomes is also talking about how it's a little bit by design, the love handles. It's not a cardio fest out there for the quarterbacks. They need
take
to
some
have some
hits.
cushion.
Yeah, take some hits.
You just like chicken fingers.
Yeah, I do.
There's no practical
I really enjoy them. I really enjoy them.
Yeah. There's
I
no
really
getting
enjoy
tackled by Josh Sweat and eating chicken fingers.
It'd be
Anyway.
great. By the way, we're in a bar. Could we get a chicken finger? Like, where's Raising Cane's? Can we get some sort of sponsorship
Like a
of the
buffet
show?
behind
Yeah,
us? That'd be good.
something.
By the way,
Let's
the
do that.
comments loving that we're on YouTube. This one from Jess goes, "No more posting video live every day?" Question mark. Live every day.
Live every day.
12 p.m. Eastern time.
12 p.m. Eastern.
On YouTube.
And then as soon as the show is done at 1 o'clock, obviously it'll be right there on the NFL and NBC Sports YouTube channel, so you can find it. So even if you miss it, you show up at 12:30, you can start from the beginning, or you show up at 1 o'clock, you can watch it in full. We could not be more excited. And again, we want you, the commenters, to be a part of the show.
All right, let's get into the current favorites for Ride or Die.
Yeah.
I got a good list here, Matthew. I'm curious how far down in your mind you've broken down this list, how many candidates we are down to internally.
Well, you know what? First off, let's talk about what Ride or Die means, right? But the idea is it's always been somebody that I think is undervalued, somebody that I want to leave every draft with because I think this player is going to take the next leap this year, whether it's, from a second rounder to a first rounder, from a fourth rounder to a second, wherever it is, that this is somebody that is not being properly valued or appreciated by both the fantasy and NFL community. They have undervalued this player. And look, last year was not great. It was Kyler Murray. And if I'm being honest, if you watched this exact show last year, where we sort of went through all the potential candidates, Jaden Daniels was a finalist for quarterback, right? I think Trey McBride was a finalist at tight end. And I'm going to be 100% honest here. I wanted to do Jaden Daniels, but I was chicken because I thought people will think, oh, it's just a homer call and everything like that. And so I went the safe route and took Kyler Murray, which did not work out. Kyler Murray didn't kill you. He was a QB1, but he did not perform to the levels of all other Ride or Dies. I admit that. He wasn't as good as Amon-Ra St. Brown or Jalen Hurts or Austin Eckler or Josh Jacobs' rookie year or Kareem Hunt's rookie year. There's been a lot of big hits over the years. So I think we have to define it as basically somebody that I feel is undervalued and somebody that will far exceed their draft day value.
Right, it's not just picking one of the best players.
Right, exactly.
At cost is a huge factor here. So you're not just going to hear today, well, pick Bijan Robinson.
Correct.
Or Bijan Robinson.
Bijan, either way, yes, exactly.
Have we transitioned?
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that.
was very recent,
I'll
very
adjust
recent.
accordingly.
A lot of off-season news to get to, and obviously today's about Ride or Die to set up for Thursday night against Hall of Fame. But throughout the next couple of weeks, we're going to go through all the stuff, all the Bijan to Bijan. Jahmyr Gibbs is apparently number 0 now. Yeah. Tank Bigsby apparently is RB1 in Jacksonville. We got lots to get to. We've got plenty of time to get there.
And we'll start with quarterbacks or quarterback.
Yeah.
One quarterback candidate here, Matthew, and that's Caleb Williams, who the Bears hope after the hiring of Ben Johnson does take a massive second-year lead.
Yeah, look, the argument here is this is somebody that's more or less being drafted outside the top 10 at the position. And no team, I think, improved their offensive line this offseason more than the Chicago Bears. Ben Johnson was brought in specifically, like, make Caleb Williams work, right? And so not only they improve the offensive line, not only they have year 2 of Rome Odunze, they draft Colston Loveland. He's still got DJ Moore. Like, it's they've got Cole Kmet. They've got a lot of weapons around him. And honestly, I'm not that impressed with their run game. So you feel like this is probably going to be a pass-first offense, and you think about his rushing ability. 9 different games last year with 30 or more rushing yards. Only 3 quarterbacks had more. I don't think you think of Caleb Williams in the same, and not saying that he's Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen, but he gets you more points with his legs than I think people realize. And so, especially given the threat of his legs and the fact that he's going to have more time behind that offensive line, I think Caleb Williams is somebody that easily could take a big jump this year.
Yeah, I think he's a great candidate. Look, and we saw the flashes last year. It just wasn't a great team around him. While he did finish ranked outside the top 15 quarterbacks, you saw in Week 6 against the Jaguars where he was QB1. 4 total touchdowns, over 50 yards on the ground. Then you say, oh, that's the Jags. He had back-to-back weeks against the Lions and the Vikings, where he also was a top 5 quarterback. Then he had a 5-game stretch late in the season where he threw 10 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. So the talent is still there. I think a lot of people kind of hit the panic meter on him so quickly because we thought so greatly of him coming out of the draft, but he was still a rookie who played 3 years in college. So now that he has that offensive line, now that he's got these weapons at receiver, I think this is a great candidate for ride or die.
How much of a pass do you give Caleb for last season?
I mean, he made his own mistakes, but a huge pass because keeping that staff was an absurd move. It did not set him up for any kind of success at all. Then they go out and improve the interior of their offensive line, which is massive because he's a guy that holds the ball a little longer. And you just look at the offensive upgrade from a scheme standpoint with Ben Johnson. That's a massive difference. So while he made his own rookie mistakes, he wasn't set up to succeed at all. And the success of Jaden Daniels, I think, is actually suppressing the value of the number 1 pick. And it wasn't even, think about how highly regarded he was for 2 years in college football as an NFL prospect, not being taken inside the top 10 quarterbacks. This one's exciting.
Yeah, it is. So I think Caleb is very interesting. And, I also think, you guys will think I'm going crazy, but I felt like, the Bears were actually rolling, and then the Hail Mary game that they lost to Washington, all of a sudden it felt like the wheels of that team came off. That, like, it was just sort of like this huge defeat, after a game that they should have won, honestly, and they didn't. Thanks to the magic of Jaden Daniels, faith in 5, hail Commanders, hail victory. But, honestly, that they weren't a terrible team at that point. I think they were I want to say they were 4-2 or.
Yeah, they're 5-3, that type of range. Yeah. But I think the thing with Caleb, outside of how good is he going to be, the 2 minor pushbacks I would give is, 1, plays in a brutal division with some really good defenses. Sure. Plays outdoors in the weather as well, which can suppress fantasy production. And then I think the lower key one, I don't think it's going to matter long term, but it's year 1 in a new system where everything has changed. I just think that just getting that continuity, familiarity with the system, talk about these quarterbacks, these epic quarterbacks who exploded in year 2, like Mahomes, he at least had sat with the Andy Reid playbook, and he was going into year 2 when he had his MVP season. Lamar Jackson had some familiarity with the season going into the system going into his second year 2. So that would be another pushback with Caleb, but certainly he's got immense upside.
Well, and by the way, I'll just say this. So on fantasylife.com, we have an ADP tool. It's free, and it just shows you on every site, whether you play on Yahoo or you play on other sites as well. Every single site in the industry sort of where all these players. And the consensus ADP on Caleb Williams is QB 13. And so I certainly think I'd be surprised if at the end of the year he's not better than QB 13.
Right. I think he will be. And look at Ben Johnson, right? That's who he's got now as his play caller. 3 years with Jared Goff when he was kind of written off after he got to the Lions.
Kind of.
Yeah.
The Rams gave a first-round pick to get rid of him.
Right. So, look, in 3 years with Ben Johnson, he's thrown for at least 4,400 yards in each season with Ben Johnson. Bears hasn't had a 4,000-yard passer in their history. I think we get it this year.
Let's move over to the running backs with the highest-ranked player on the list. But the caveat is, Matthew, he's a rookie, and that's Ashton Jeanty, who right now you're going to see him taken inside the top 5 running backs. You're going to see him often taken inside the top 10 picks. But, of course, there's always risk with a guy you have never seen play at the NFL level.
And he's on the Raiders, right? I mean, right?
Sure.
So he's on the Raiders. It's an offense that we don't have a ton of high hopes for. He is a rookie, and he's also going running back 5. Consensus ranks is that he's going as running back 5. I actually have him at 4. So how much room for growth is there for Jeanty? Like, we all think he's going to be awesome, but just in terms of ride or die, he's going basically in the first round. But I will say, you could argue that, like, listen, there is risk involved. He's a rookie, and he's a rookie on the Raiders, and and he's going to play the Chiefs twice, good defense. He's going to play the Broncos twice, good defense. He's going to play the Chargers twice, good defense. So he's, there's some challenges there. But I think what you're really banking on is, in addition to his huge talent, right? Chip Kelly's offense has always featured the running back, right? He's had 3 seasons as a head coach at Chip Kelly when he's in the NFL, and his backfields during that time frame, 4th in the NFL in fantasy points per game. They've actually been top 7 in rush attempts in 3 of his 4 years as an NFL head coach as well. And then you think about the draft capital, right? Since 2012, of the 7 running backs drafted inside the top 10, 5 of them average at least 19 touches per game. And all of those 5 finished top 7 in fantasy points per game. Barkley, Fournette, Zeke Elliott, Todd Gurley, and of course Trent Richardson. So I think the volume's going to be there. I think with Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers, there's at least signs of life for that offense in the passing game. Geno is certainly an upgrade over what they had last year, and Chip Kelly wants to play at a fast pace of play. Like, they're going to have a lot more possessions than Raiders teams in the past.
You mentioned Zeke Elliott and how he came on to, as a rookie, top 5 running back, led the league in rushing. We didn't expect much out of Dallas that year. They was going to have a 4th-round pick, Dak Prescott, start at quarterback. They went all the way to the playoffs. I think the Raiders are going to compete this year. I don't think they just going to, like, lay down and let the Broncos, Chiefs, and Chargers take it. But, like, Jeanty, too, he's been talking about, hey, I want to catch the ball more. And that's something like, every running back says they want to do it. Jeanty actually did it as a sophomore. 43 catches, over 500 receiving yards in college as a sophomore. He didn't do it his junior year because he was too busy running for over 2,600 yards, but he definitely has that in his bag. And when you think about a Pete Carroll team, look what he was able to do with Marshawn Lynch all those years. I see it happening early and often for Jeanty.
Connor, as a prospect, Jeanty is like
as
at what level, right?
As good as it gets. I mean, every bit as good as a prospect Saquon Barkley was. Different.
Right,
obviously, Saquon had that breakaway, big threat, big playability. Jeanty, he's one of the hardest guys to tackle that I've ever evaluated. And that is a metric that typically carries over to the NFL. If you are an elite player at missed tackles force at the college level, not good, not average, elite is in one of the best we've ever seen, you're going to make guys miss. Your contact balance is going to translate to the next level. And I think this offensive line is underrated compared to public perception of it. So I'm all in on Jeanty. You are spending decent draft capital to get him, but I think he lives up to it.
Yeah, I think the Raiders will be better than people think as well. Their win total 6.5. I would take the over there. It's a brutal division, but they do have a last place schedule as well, which cushions a little bit of that. To your point, Connor, offensive line is solid. The only thing is that I wouldn't make him your pick, Matthew, because you're just not going to get the credit.
Yeah, that's the thought, right?
He's going to be RB1.
Right.
He just
for it.
has
So
the
no
threshold of
right.
The bar's too high.
Correct. If I take Jeanty, then he has to finish as the number 1 running back in fantasy. He has to beat Saquon. He has to beat Bijan. Yep. He has to take Gibbs, CMC, Henry, any of the guys that potentially could finish as number 1. Or the next guy.
Yeah, this next guy, it's not that different. He's not a rookie, but the expectations are high for Devon Achane. Like that's what it comes down to here, Matthew, with him, where he's basically drafted right after Jeanty, typically right in that range, in an offense that if Tyreek's healthy, the touches can get spread around, especially with Jalen Waddle as well. But we know this guy has the big playability to truly be the 1st or 2nd running back when the year is done.
Look, Devon Achane, or as he's known around these parts by some, Achane.
French pronunciation.
Yes.
In Marseille,
yeah.
via Stanford.
Look, no running back had more receptions or receiving yards last year, had an 18% target share in 2 of his 11 starts. If there's a concern of Achane, look, I mean, because we know how good he is. We know he's got, we know he's great out of the backfield. We know he can hold up, right? I mean, he had over 200 rushes last year as well. He was 5th among all running backs last year in fantasy points per touch. The concern, though, is anytime you're taking a running back as your ride or die, you're worried about their health. But in Achane's case, you also have to worry about the health of Tua Tagovailoa because we saw just how much that offense fell apart last year when Tua was out, and Achane went right with him. I mean, I had Achane on my I have Achane on my dynasty team, and that that last game against Cleveland was absolutely brutal. I mean, I ended up losing by like 6 points, and part of it was because Achane just did nothing against Cleveland.
And they didn't fix backup quarterback.
No.
The problem is always, well, what happens if Tua gets hurt? Zach Wilson.
And they so they still didn't do that, but just to be specific,
They could have had Jameis.
just to be
Seriously.
For literally cheaper.
Just to be more specific for the folks live on YouTube right now, shout out to them. Those first 4 games that Tua missed last year, Devon Achane, who, by the way, still finished as running back 7 in fantasy points per game for the season, but in those first 4 games without Tua, running back 37, running back 53, running back 55, and running back 27.
Crazy.
That is not who Devon Achane is as a player, and we know that. So is Tua going to play? Then we all in there.
11 games Tua started last year. Those 11 games, Achane averaged 22.6 fantasy points per game. That would have been running back 1 last year. Again, in those 11 games, but like there are legit health concerns not only with Achane but with Tua Tagovailoa. So he's number 1 running back in fantasy is well within the range of outcomes for Achane, but also he's a risky pick for ride or die. So how much risk do I want to, am I willing to really roll the dice? So I got to think about this.
I would say it's more risk than Ashton Jeanty.
Without a doubt.
Because look at the depth chart behind Ashton Jeanty, Raheem Mostert, Sincere McCormick. Those are guys who in
Zamir White just getting
Zamir
come on.
White.
Why do you hate Zamir White?
That wasn't my fantasy hero.
Yeah.
So they're going to give Ashton Jeanty a breather. But the Dolphins also, we might see more Jalen Wright. I think that too is what would make Devon Achane more risky, but more liable and more viable, rather, to be the ride or die.
Yeah, I think another thing is, do you want to hitch your wagon to the 2025 Miami Dolphins?
I was going to ask you that. How are they projected right now? Because there's so much volatility with them.
There's like a 500 team, 8.5, that type of range. They have the same odds to win the division as the Patriots. It just seems that there's a lot of fragility around the team between Tua's health status, between the offensive line, which hasn't really been fixed, and Achane as well. Like he's not built. Not sure he's built to be a workhorse running back and last the entire season. Perhaps he is. Perhaps he can surprise that, but he really need that, though.
He held up tougher than you would think in SEC
impressed.
play.
Yeah.
I know you watch his college tape at A&M.
He's not a big guy, but he plays
tough.
In college, he used to truck dudes. Now, you're not going to do that in the league, but he still runs tough.
But he was playing against SEC. Like when he was at Texas A&M, I watch a lot of Texas A&M. I'm just like, Achane was, it wasn't just scat back stuff. Like it was between the tackle stuff.
Of it.
Yeah.
The fragility around him is concerning.
Yes,
the offensive line, I have questions about. To his health, we always unfortunately have questions about.
There are also other ripple effects too, where like if Tyreek and Waddle don't bounce back, that has a negative effect on Achane as well, just in terms of the space that he will have in that offense. So I think there are a lot of red flags around that team.
Although I will say, Jonnu Smith leaving this team, which happened during the offseason, we'll get into that. But like in terms of target share, like it's Tyreek, it's Waddle, it's Achane. Like right? It's literally going to be those 3 guys.
Yeah, and there's also, like, he does have RB1 in fantasy upside. Like, I think back to 2 years ago, some of those runs against, like, the Giants and the Broncos, it's like, is this guy just the best running back in football? Like, he just looks like he's playing a different sport. It looks like Usain Bolt in Beijing.
Right.
Like, it was just incredible to watch. Didn't really have those flashes last year, but the offense was just dreadful for stretches last season. And I worry that even if Tua misses any time at all, those weeks are a write-off in terms of being able to live up to your value.
Well, a running back that does have a workhorse build, but comes with the rookie concerns, of course, as well, is Omarion Hampton, our last guy on this list. Listen, another high-end pick at running back. We know this Chargers team, Matthew, they want to run the ball like crazy. And we're not certain of the status of Najee Harris now going into the season.
There's a couple of concerns with Omarion Hampton, which I'll talk about right now, because the rest of it is nothing but green lights, right? And so obviously the presence of a veteran like Najee Harris there, we don't know what his health status is, but assuming he's ready for the start of the season, is Omarion Hampton in some sort of a timeshare? So that's a concern as well. And the other thing is that traditionally Greg Roman's offenses, and he's obviously the offense coordinator of the Chargers, don't throw the ball to their running backs that much. Like Hampton is a special pass catcher,
right?
But they just, in terms of offensively, last year they didn't. And Dobbins is not terrible out of the backfield, but they never threw the ball to him. And it just doesn't feel like, if you look at Greg Roman's offenses, whether it was Baltimore or the Bills, like that's not a big part of the way they call plays, is using a pass catching running back there. So those are the concerns. But
big but
I think this is an offensive. I think it's a good offensive line. We know they want to run the ball. We know they want to run the ball in close. Actually, they were top 8 last year in rush attempts inside the 5-yard line. Right? They were top 12 in both running back carries and running back rushing touchdowns. They were 10th overall in overall rush rate. Like, pick a stat. Greg Roman and Jim Harbaugh want to run the ball, and then you think about draft capital. With a first-round pick this year, given the other needs of the Chargers, they still went out and grabbed a running back. J.K. Dobbins, who was on a cheap deal and who performed well for them last year, they let him walk. And they have Najee Harris on a cheap 1-year deal. They used the 22nd overall pick on Omarion Hampton. And in the 11 years Greg Roman's been calling plays, 9 of them, his offenses have had a top 5 rushing offense. So if you think that you can get away, if you think the touchdown equity can be there for Hampton, and you're not as concerned about the passing work, and you're not as concerned about Najee, Omarion Hampton's really interesting. He's only going in the 4th round.
I would say, Matthew, if you were going to go with a rookie running back this year, it should be Omarion Hampton, and not because he's just so much better than Ashton Jeanty, but because, like we said earlier, we wouldn't be shocked if Ashton Jeanty was running back too. Not so much with Omarion Hampton for the reasons you just said, but you brought up J.K. Dobbins. He had his best year last year with the Chargers, right? And last year, running back 24. That's pretty good for him in total points. And remember, he missed 4 games.
Yes, he did.
And missed a large chunk of another game. Through 12 weeks, he was running back 16 in fantasy. So stylistically, I liken this to you had J.K. Dobbins, then you had Gus Edwards. That's how it ran early. I see Omarion Hampton being the J.K. Dobbins and Najee Harris, whenever he comes back, being the Gus Edwards. Najee Harris still going to steal some touchdowns, but I think it'll be like whoever's in, you get the touchdown. But the guy who's going to break the runs, that's going to be Omarion Hampton.
Yeah, he's currently going as running back 13. Go ahead.
The issue is that for him to be a ride or die, it's just hard to make that commitment unless you've seen Najee Harris's eyes and like what is his capacity going to be entering the season. That whole situation still seems kind of shrouded in mystery.
There's no timetable right now.
There's no timetable, and so is Najee just going to be fine to come back? Is he not going to play at all? I have no idea what's going to happen with that situation. So I think you'd have to have confidence that even if Najee is there, that Hampton can still get 70% of the carries in that backfield. But what I'm interested in, Connor, how does Hampton stack up to Jeanty as a prospect?
I mean, every scout would tell you that in a non-Jeanty class, this guy is your typical RB1, a legitimate first-round running back. Is that our comment sound?
It is, but I think the graphic didn't show up.
Okay, we'll try again.
First day
jitters.
jitters.
First day.
Oh, it's all right. We'll be all right.
First day back to school will be good.
What are you going to do?
I mean, when you look at Hampton, he's got the build to take on contact. He's already great in pass pro. So you don't have to worry about like the whole coach won't put him on the field every down because he's not good in pass pro. He's good in pass pro. It goes back to Matthew's point of if they're actually going to utilize his pass catching skills. After the Eagles, they might have the best tackle duo in the entire NFL. They just paid Rashawn Slater. Obviously, they drafted Joe Alt. This offense is going to move the ball down between the 20s because they have Ladd McConkey and Justin Herbert. The touchdown equity for Hampton is going to be
Mekhi Becton is there.
Don't forget, Mekhi Becton at guard now, revitalized.
Yeah.
And our boy QJ. After a strong year, we'll see what he could do as well. And
they added Trey Harris.
They drafted Trey Harris.
Yes.
This team is going to move the ball between the 20s, where I think the touchdown equity for Hampton, especially while it's unfortunate what's going on with Najee Harris, it could be huge. Like, if this guy falls into the end zone 14-plus times, is anyone surprised? I'm not.
Not at all.
I'm not at all.
This is the thing, though. So, Jay, if we find out that I don't even want to put this out here, but whatever. Let's just say we know Najee Harris misses the first 5 weeks of the season. So, but that naturally brings Omarion Hampton's price up. So it's not really a ride or die because he's going to get drafted a few spots higher, I would imagine,
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, but, I can't I can't base it basically based on something like that because I can't control the
You
market.
just gotta- you gotta
I can't
do
control
it.
the market, and I'm doing it. I'm literally announcing it on Thursday at the before any drafts have been gone, before it's even turned to August yet. So, candidly, every single year I announce my ride or die. That player's ADP does go up, so it is what it is. But you can only base it on what their ADP was at the time of the call. I'll just tell you quickly on running backs. A lot of, I've asked on social media, on X and everything like that. Two other running back names that we're not going to talk about real quickly, but Chase Brown and Bucky Irvin have both been suggested quite a bit. Any thoughts on either one of those guys?
But it's easy to buy into Bucky Irving.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, that's a team that's going to score a ton of points, and why would they not just give the full workload to him after what we saw last year? But we're going to have more on Bucky Irving, I think, by the end of this show with some suggestions here. Let's move over to the wide receivers, and we have some heavy hitters in this group because these are guys that you can get outside the first round, where they can clear expectations. And the first one, Matthew, a healthy Nico Collins is so dangerous in this Texans offense and a well-worthy candidate after what he's done.
For sure. I mean, the question with Nico is health. But I think, you sit there and you think about target competition, right? Last year they had Stephon Diggs, they had Tank Dell. Neither of those guys are back we don't expect Tank Dell back for quite some time. Diggs is now on the Patriots. Yes, they signed Christian Kirk. Yes, they drafted Higgins and Noel. But those are two rookies and a guy in Kirk that's also struggled to stay healthy. You're not really concerned about the tight end there in terms of getting a bunch of targets. So he's an alpha wide receiver one with a good quarterback, right? I mean, in the last two seasons, he's averaging over 85 receiving yards per game. That is the fifth most in the NFL. During his healthy games during that stretch, he's averaging almost 19 fantasy points per game. I would argue that Nico Collins is a wide receiver one, but everyone thinks of him as a wide receiver two. And I think it's partially because he didn't have a ton of draft capital coming out. Last year was sort of his breakout year. He hasn't been on the national stage. And even though Houston's been a playoff team, it still feels like a small market team. It's an AFC South team. It doesn't feel like they get a ton of national games. And so I just don't feel like Nico Collins has the name recognition of a CeeDee Lamb, of a Justin Jefferson, of even a Puka Nacua. And I'd argue talent-wise, he's just as good as any of those guys. Yep. Maybe not Jefferson, but he's right there in the mix as being one of the elite wide receivers in the NFL.
In terms of his efficiency, his underlying stats, his yards per route run, he's right there with the Jeffersons of the world. It's just one, the health, and then secondarily, just the offensive line in Houston, because a lot of his performance is tied to how C.J. Stroud is going to do on deep balls, which kind of fell off a little bit for Stroud last year. And I think that was largely because he just didn't have time.
Right.
And I know there's a lot of
And he got the yips.
Yes, he was rattled by that game against Baltimore on Christmas. He was just broken. He kind of figured it out a little bit after that and showed some signs. I thought he played well.
He was better in the playoffs,
in the playoffs against the Chargers in particular. But with Nico, with that offensive line, I do think there's a little bit of an overblown concern because Laramie Tunsil left. And I think the key thing that people forget is the Texans actively made the decision to move on from Laramie Tunsil. I think it would feel a bit different about the structure of that offensive line if that had just been thrust upon them and, he just left in free agency. They actively planned for that to happen, and so they must feel okay about the plan in place. And the other thing, too, is that they don't have Bobby Slowick anymore to go run on first down, run on second down, throw on 3rd and 7.
Yeah, I mean, how do you see this new offense coordinator there in Houston? How do you see this offense playing out? Do you think they'll be more pass heavy?
I think so. Yeah. The predictability nature that Jay brought up was dreadful, and every team knew it. You watch how they would sell out against them on early downs, Lawrence, and then you go into the way teams can pin their ears back on 3rd and long against Stroud, who can move a little bit, but he's not a very elusive kind of quarterback. It didn't set him up for success, and then it did affect him. He started to miss throws. He started to kind of rush throws, and that affects a player like Nico Collins that's going to draw the most attention, especially after the injuries they had at wide receiver. It's okay, no Steph Diggs now, no Tank Dell, sell out against Nico Collins. So his ADP on the Fantasy Life consensus ADP right now is 15th. So you're looking at the neighborhood of, Neighbors and Puka Nacua and McCaffrey and Jeanty. They're all going over him.
Yeah.
Nico Collins can easily finish as a top 10 player in fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, if there's the other thing that I think that you can make an argument for Nico Collins is how effective is this team going to be running the ball? Joe Mixon's already hurt. We don't know if Nick Chubb really has anything left. They have Woody Marks, who he thinks a nice pass-catching running back, but he's young. Yeah. And, I think there's real questions about that running game and how effective it's going to be added into the offensive line issues that you mentioned, Jay. And so, I think they might be a little bit overblown, but we don't think this is going to be a great offensive line.
No, the hope is that it's functional.
Right.
Whatever happens with the Texans, Nico Collins always get his numbers. Whether it be like sometimes he'll get it on 3 catches for 85 yards. You talked about his efficiency. That's part of that. So no matter what happens with the Texans, C.J. Stroud is finding Nico.
And the other thing they do is they manufacture touches for him. It's not all deep stuff.
Right.
They'll do quick slants. They'll do bubble screens. They will find ways to manufacture touches for Nico Collins. So I think he's a strong candidate. I'm not going to lie to you.
Another player in that mold, Brian Thomas Jr.
Yeah,
who
another strong candidate.
Wasn't just good as a rookie last year or in that rookie class. He's one of 4 rookies since 1970 with 1,200-plus receiving yards and 10-plus touchdowns. I mean, look at the company that we're talking about here for Brian Thomas Jr., who was
I've heard of all these guys.
Yeah, they're decent.
Yeah.
I mean, Odell Beckham Jr., pretty popular rookie season. Jamar Chase, of course. And, oh, yeah, is that Randy Moss? So just when it comes down to it for BTJ, Matthew, this is someone that's still, going back to the Fantasy Life Consensus ADP, you're looking around 17th. This is a potential superstar, not just a top receiver. Superstar talent.
Superstar talent, like easily could be a top 5, top 7 player in the NFL. Liam Cohen, we know that Liam Cohen wants to be a fantasy-friendly pass-first offense. He has said the offense is going to run through Brian Thomas Jr. I don't think their defense is going to be particularly good. I think they're going to be in negative game script quite a bit, so they're going to have to throw. The whole reason Cohen was brought in was to fix Trevor Lawrence. And Trevor Lawrence, whatever you think of Trevor Lawrence, whether you don't think he's he's the second coming of Andrew Luck or, can't miss prospect that he was compared to coming out, like he's a competent NFL quarterback. Like Malik Neighbors was wide receiver 6 last year with Tommy DeVito and change, right? I mean, it's
tough on Drew Lock, a.k.a. change.
I mean, you tell me different. Yeah, I mean, honestly, right? My point is that it's going to be, I think it's going to be a very fantasy-friendly offense. I honestly think there is value across the board in Jacksonville. The running game is still being sorted out, but whoever emerges from that is going to be a value. I think Brenton Strange is being way undervalued. I think Travis Hunter is being way undervalued. I could see Lawrence putting up big numbers. We've seen it as well, especially healthy. So I just think that this is an offense that is going to throw the ball. Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram both gone. Those two combined, both of them had an over 20% target share in healthy games they played together. So you're talking about an over 40% target share that's available now. In the 4 games that both Kirk and Ingram missed last season, Brian Thomas Jr., 25.5 fantasy points per game.
Our last wide receiver here, guys, Drake London, 3rd most targets in the NFL last season. We know how much targets he earns, especially he's going to play with Michael Penix this year, Matthew. Yeah. Arrow kind of points up for him in that light. And one more note here. This is from WSB's Zach Klein. He said that Falcons wide receiver Darnell Mooney's shoulder injury will cost him most of training camp. So even more on the plate of Drake London, who is being drafted after all these guys, by the way. His ADP is about 21.5, between 21 and 22. So Drake London maybe still overlooked a little bit.
Obviously super small sample size, but in the 3 games that Penix started last year, 40% target share. 40% for Drake London, over 117 yards per game. He averaged 23.1 fantasy points per game. And so you sort of think about now Mooney, right? It's his first year as a starter. Drake London has first-round draft capital, has top 10 overall player draft capital, and no one thought it was shot. So there's an elite wide receiver talent in there. Right. It's going to be a much more open offense, obviously, now that they've gotten rid of Arthur Smith, Zach Robinson. They want to throw the ball. We saw signs of what it could look like last year over the last 3 games with Penix under center. And now he comes in full season. Penix knows this is his team. He's going to be the guy. And, Mooney's hurt. Kyle Pitts, don't get me started. Drake London is going to get a massive target share from a very good quarterback in what should be a good offense in a dome stadium with first-round talent, So Drake London, obviously a very strong candidate
I suggested
as well.
to you last year.
Yeah.
You didn't pick him.
I didn't. By the he turned out to be right. He had good.
Yeah, he was.
He'd have been better than Kyler.
I ain't gonna lie, barely though. He was like, yeah, he is.
But we didn't know. The concern last year was how hurt was Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
And that turned out to be right. Extremely. Right.
Wait, don't be laughing.
It's good to avoid that landmine. Yeah. I should have taken Jaden. Listen, I should have taken Jaden Daniels last year. I could still take him this year maybe, but, we'll see.
Nah.
Football is finally back this Thursday, but that obviously takes a backseat to what America has actually been waiting for. Matthew's big ride or die reveal live at the Hall of Fame game this Thursday at 7 p.m. on NBC and Peacock. We're taking our first break. When we're back, the ride or die pitches start. We went through some top candidates. Let's hear from some of our team on who Matthew should pick.
Mr. Berry, we have your ride or die on line one. Yeah, the 2024 first-round pick set the record for receptions by a rookie. Sorry, no, not Malik Neighbors. That's not Malik Neighbors. No, he's the AFC West pass catcher, played at Georgia in college, went for over 1,200 yards from scrimmage as a rookie. No, sorry, it's not Ladd McConkey, by the way. No, he's getting a massive situational upgrade. He's getting an improvement in quarterback play, obviously. No, sorry, not Brian Thomas Jr. Your ride or die is Brock Bowers. They're letting us play a superstar wide receiver at tight end this year.
My ride or die for this season is the Denver Broncos skill position players. Okay, it's not really my thing, but my ride or die then is Seattle Seahawks running back Kenneth Walker. Walker's been really productive when healthy as an explosive runner who now finds himself in a new offense led by Clint Kubiak, who has a zone running scheme that I really think benefits Walker's rushing style. Kubiak also likes to focus on just one running back and gets a lot out of his running backs in the passing game. So I think that Walker could be in for a really good year here. If you're going to load up on wide receivers early in the draft, then I love having Kenneth Walker as one of the first running backs on my team.
Those are ride or die pitches from some guys from our team, of course, Kyle Dvorak and Eric Samolsky. Matthew, Brock Bowers, Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker, of course, definitely a more bold, riskier play compared to where ADP is. But you can look really good if this is a huge season for Walker.
I think Walker's getting a lot of buzz this preseason. I think he could. But concerns about the offensive line. I just don't know what this offense is going to look like. There's so many unknowns. Kubiak's offense. What does this offense look like with Sam Darnold?
Right.
And like JSN? JSN's been pitched to me a lot as well. But you've got Sam Darnold and you've got Cooper Kupp there, and there's a lot of moving pieces for us to feel really good about this. And the other concern is Walker's health. plus the presence of Zach Charbonnet. It's weird. He's not getting a lot of buzz at the moment, but Charbonnet is a running back one in a lot of teams, and so we just don't know how it's all going to play out. But I do like Walker quite a bit this year. Ride or die might be a little bit tough. The Bowers call for me is even tougher because I feel like you get no credit for Bowers at all, right?
They're going to be like, well, he finished tight end one last year.
Yeah, exactly.
The thing is, he would have to be tight end one with like 1,700 yards.
What you'd have to do is you'd have to say is you have to move him into like the middle of the first round overall, the way like Kelsey was for a couple of years. And honestly, I think there's an argument to me that your best value at tight end, if you want to go elite, is actually George Kittle this year. In the third round versus Bowers or McBride, who are going 1 and 2. So let me put it this way: I feel like if I'm going with a Raider, it's got to be Jeanty. As awesome as Bowers is, I just
you want the credit.
He's great.
Part of ride or die is getting the credit.
Right, is getting the credit, and honestly, and I mean, how much better can Bowers do from ADP?
Right. You talked about that with Jeanty earlier, so it would be like, if Jeanty finishes RB2, that's a hell of a lot more shocking than Brock Bowers finishing his tight end 1.
Right.
So
Bowers being taken in the top 20.
Well, it would have to be the reason Kelsey went in the middle of the first round all those years was that Kelsey wasn't only tight end 1, he was significantly better than every other tight end. That he gave you such a massive edge at that position every week that he was worth drafting in the middle of the first round.
That's what
but as much as we love Brock Bowers, I don't know how much better he's going to be than Trey McBride with some positive touchdown regression this year, or George Kittle, given all the injuries they've had at wide receiver. Or
Kyle Pitts.
On his team.
One time for Kyle Pitts, baby. I'm the only one clapping right now.
That's right.
It's okay.
He's still hanging out and drinking with Justin Fields overseas, right?
Let's get into the Rotoworld Player news.
You got 2 injury-prone KPs in Atlanta now between Kyle Pitts and Kristaps Porzingis.
Yes.
Right. On to the Braves.
Actually, Kyle Pitts wasn't even that hurt last year.
That's the problem.
Just seems like it.
Yeah, it just wasn't no stats to go with that.
It's true. The stats were hurt.
Yeah.
The stats was hurt.
Yeah.
All right, we got some Rotoworld Player news starting here with a big one. This is from NFL insider Jordan Schultz reporting that Texans running back Joe Mixon will miss multiple weeks of training camp with a foot injury, but we did get to hear from D'Amico Ryans this week on Joe Mixon's status.
Nothing's changed with Joe. Joe is still working, in the background. I know we get reports about Joe. Nothing's changed. He's still working. Whenever it's time for Joe to be back, he'll be back. Right? I know a lot of people want to report a lot of things about guys with injuries. My thing is this: are you really concerned about our guys? Or are you really just trying to get something out there? Our guys are working, and it's always sensitive to me because I've been there. I've went through that. So it's not just to report something. Like, I want people here who truly care about our guys. I care about our guys and what they're doing throughout their process, and it'll continue to be that way.
Yeah, it's concerning, right? I mean, I currently have an RB20, number 51 overall, and I think, when I do a rankings update this week, I'll probably drop him a little bit further. I wish I knew, a little bit more about how Nick Chubb was this year, because obviously he didn't look great at the end of last year, but maybe another year healthier. A lot of miles on Joe Mixon. He's 29 years old. Like, he's been a fairly durable running back throughout his NFL career, which is both good and bad. The bad part being that there's a lot of mileage there. He's now entering his, he'll be 30. He'll be 30 in less than a year. So he just turned 29 last month. So
I like to think that.
And again, we've talked about the offensive line too. Sorry, go ahead.
If Joe Mixon does end up missing some time into the season, which we don't know, obviously, it'd be nice to see Nick Chubb get something back of what he had. He's another year removed from that brutal leg injury. So the Texans had to have known or seen something to bring him aboard. Right. The thing is, they didn't bring him aboard to be a full workhorse lead running back. That's the thing. They brought him in to relieve Joe Mixon, so that's going to be the issue. Is Nick Chubb still the 20-carry guy, or can he be that for at least a few weeks or something?
Although here's the other thing. The other concern, again, is we're talking specifically about Mixon. What if Nick Chubb does still have it? What if Nick Chubb is now a full year now removed from the injury and he does have it, and now this entire offseason, like, everyone loves Nick Chubb. Like, when healthy, Nick Chubb is as good as it gets. And so what if over the next month people are like, damn, Nick Chubb's back.
Right.
And so now all of a sudden Joe Mixon comes up to like, yo, Joe, we're gonna split this 50-50. And now he's suddenly in a timeshare as opposed to just a depth piece because Chubb's now got a real opportunity to, take the ball and run with it.
Couple of news items here that we're going to be keeping an eye on over the next month. Adam Schefter reported Rashee Rice has been sentenced to 5 years probation and 30 days of jail time that could be served during those 5 years, stemming from his role in a multi-car crash in Dallas. So potential Rashee Rice suspension coming down the line here. Jordan Addison has decided to plead guilty to a lesser included vehicular offense. And then one that we will keep an eye on throughout all of camp. Browns GM Andrew Berry acknowledged Thursday that the Browns may not see Quinshon Judkins on the field at training camp for a while. So the Browns' backfield will kind of in flux right now.
Dylan Sampson moved up to running back 42 for me. I moved up Jerome Ford to running back 52 based on the fact that we don't know the availability of Judkins as of yet.
NBC Sports Now is our free 24/7 streaming channel. You can get NFL news and all the biggest stories in sports starting at 7 a.m. with PFT Live, The Dan Patrick Show, The Dan Levitard Show with Stu Gotts, Fantasy Football Happy Hour with Matthew Berry, and Chris Sims Unbuttoned. Just go to NBCSports.com/now. We're taking one more break. When we're back, how about the desk makes their pitches for their ride or die candidates to match?
Let's go.
Marquise Irving, you may know him better as Bucky, outtouched Rachaad White 40-3 between Week 18 and the wild card round last year, the Bucs' two most important games this season. Irving was a rare combination of efficiency and actual production as a rookie. He was a league winner then, he's a league winner now. Bucky Irving, the only sensible choice for Ride or Die 2025.
Hey Matthew, Denny coming to you from the beach to tell you that Puka Nacua should be your ride or die player for 2025. No one had a better target per route run last year. No one had a better yards per route run. He checks all of the nerdy boxes. He also happens to be a total dog, which we love, of course, in fantasy circles. Unfortunately for Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, Puka Nacua is the best receiver in the NFL. He should be your ride or die.
Some strong pitches from Roto Pat going with Bucky Irving and Denny going with Puka Nacua there. Bucky Irving, very
I like the Bucky one.
Bucky is
very on brand as well.
Yes.
Very ride or die.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I love Bucky Irving. Lawrence and I went to the Combine. We met a very well-placed Tampa Bay source. We had a whole conversation, and they love, with a capital L, Bucky Irving. And they have no concerns about him being a RB1. Obviously, they rode him down the stretch, and full systems go. You're not worried at all about Rachaad White. I do think Sean Tucker actually could get. But I think Sean Tucker over Rachaad White versus Bucky Irving. But it's going to be a very good offense as well. Obviously, Baker's back. Even though Liam Cohen left, it's basically going to be the same playbook. I guess if there's one concern, Can Bucky, given his size, hold up over the entire course of an NFL season? Tristan Wirfs is going to miss some time. That's a little bit of a concern on the O-line, but Bucky Irvin's definitely a very strong candidate. As for Puka, I've heard that suggestion a lot. I will say this, credit to Denny. It is better than his Taysom Hill suggestion of last year. So Denny trending up. But I think there's an argument to be made. He just said Puka Nacua is the best wide receiver in the NFL. I think there's an argument to be made Puka Nacua is not the best wide receiver on his own team. I mean, seriously.
Devontae still got it.
Devontae still has it.
Very fair.
I think of the two guys, in terms of where they're going in drafts, I think Devontae is actually the better value. So it's not going to be Puka. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, I'll give you my pitch, Matthew. You spoke before about Love with a capital L.
Yes, sir.
About literally Love with a capital L because it's his surname. Jordan Love, who is going as QB 17 in drafts in 2023, his first year as a starter. Jordan Love was QB 5. Last year he was banged up the entire season, did his MCL, groin, elbow. He provided no rushing value last year. I think he'll get back to a little bit more of that as he did in 2023. Adds Matthew Golden, has an excellent coach in Matt LaFleur. Makes no sense to me that he is going QB 17 when he's shown production of being QB 5. And by the way, he's 26 years old, so I think there's a lot of upside in.
And they added Matthew Golden in the offseason.
Travis Hunter, Matthew.
Yes.
Another rookie.
Yeah,
We've talked a lot of rookies today. Travis Hunter right now, consensus ADP, 70th. So everybody is so afraid of him playing corner. Nobody can accept that this guy he's just going to play both ways, and he's going to make a huge impact both ways. That's why you trade a first, second, fourth, and next year's first to go get him. Yep. Christian Kirk, Gabe Davis, Evan Ingram. They leave over 150 targets vacated in this offense. Parker Washington, he had 51. He's back. Diami Brown is in the mix. Brian Thomas Jr., of course, his 133 targets. He'll probably get 30 more than that. But this guy's going to get targets. How many do you think he had last year when he had over 1,200 receiving yards and 15 touchdowns? 96 targets. He doesn't need 150 targets to be a superstar.
No, he doesn't.
Liam Cohen's Bucks last year, they ran 11 personnel almost 72% of the time. They threw out of it 70% of the time. Travis Hunter is going to significantly outperform ADP.
I love that call. I'm big on Hunter this year.
So is Justin Fields, QB7 in his 6 starts last year. Small sample size, okay. He's been a top 5 QB one year. He's been a top 8 QB. Aaron Glenn loves him. Make Justin Fields your ride or die, Matthew.
He's on the list as well. It's closing time. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. For Jay, Connor, Lawrence, I'm Matthew. Tune into the Hall of Fame game to see my ride or die. 7 o'clock Eastern Thursday, NBC and Peacock. Peace out.